while I'm working here for a second before I try to transition and do anything else. Because I've got other appointments and stuff this week that I'm not going to be up the hill. I'm going to be down the hill, and I won't be able to check in. So I'm trying to get as much stuff done today as possible. Check to use. But I think we need to. I think just because I think we need to clarify because okay, for the people that are struggling, okay, when I say that here's my issue. I'm not saying, and this is just for clarification for people that keep trying to deflect. Let's just narrow this down. I thought I was very kind in my live yesterday. I'm not saying that this guy is not a nice guy. I'm saying that he is putting up an impossible feat to come on the internet and say, I'm not going to allow these people in. I'm going to try to avoid this group. I'm going to say this group is, needs more help and, and more of my control because I have to weed out the poison products and the crazies. Well, here's the thing this is my problem. 6 years ago, we were the crazies. The people that were talking about the biofield, we were the crazies. So someone trying to say I'm objective, but then using subjective measures, that is incompatible. That's why I don't come on here and say, I'm great at life. Let me show you how to lead your life so that you can be great at life too, because having a good life and thinking you're great at it is a highly subjective position, right? That's like some people may share products that they think have helped them. Other people say this product didn't help me. That's a subjective observation. If you don't have health or empirical data or research data, then it's my observation. And my observation is not proof. It's not validity. So when you say that you're doing something to weed out lies or deceit, but you have no factual evidence of lies or deceit, then it's just a personal belief. That's why I don't police the people that watch my channel, because I believe y'all are adults, and I believe that everybody has their own personal appeal and other things that they reject. And I understand that because I'm like that. I'm that way too. So if I don't have proof, if I like with all these products that woo, I just kind of avoid it, because if you feel like you need it, you'll get it. If you don't, you won't. And I don't really want to talk about it because it's seriously like, I try to be kind, and kindness will get you shot in the foot every time, right? Kindness will get you shot in the foot every time. You can't be subjective and say that I'm being objective, because that's not kindness. That's deceit. That's what I'm saying. We have an issue. What he is saying I'm doing is impossible, because he is one man and he cannot weed out and inherently and intrinsically know what is fact and what is fiction. It is absolutely impossible. Hi, Gypsy. And I'm not saying he's a bad man. I'm saying that he's subjective. And he's not subjective. Yes, he is. He has personal filters and beliefs that impair him from treating everyone the same. Everyone has them. I have them. You have them. And so when I look to him, I don't need him delineating what links I can talk about, what links I can share, what products I can speak on, what new medical measures I can talk about, because I have to sit here and constantly wonder every day, what does he think is valid and what is not? And if I talk about something valid, he's going to say, I'm no longer valid. Well, Elizabeth, why do you say that? Because he said it in his, if you are pushing products that I don't like, then I no longer like you. because there's no other beef with Corinne, right? Except that she pushed a link that he did not feel was credible. Therefore, her credibility was ruined. That's subjective because we don't know if the product she was sharing is credible or not. There's no factual data, no research. It is a highly subjective measure from each person personally to use and make their determination. So, Corinne's not a bad person. She's not trying to harm anyone. She shared a link she found useful. You may not find it useful. That's a subjective opinion. And so it's he's measuring inappropriately and he's creating a conflict within his base because he is not the Wizard of Oz and does not know everything. And so to try to say, I'm going to bring you under me like hens and I'm going to limit what you can and can't absorb because I don't think you have the measure to do so is not pleasant. I don't want anyone to think of me that way. I don't want to be spoon fed only what someone thinks is appropriate because I might miss something that I need. No one knows except for me. And that's what I'm saying. You need to be in control of this. So I don't want to be on a channel where someone's controlling things. And I don't want you to think that when you come here, I'm no. So that's my beef I have with this man is that his nature to define people is a very subjective one, which is flawed and errored many times. And when I say the parole officer within me does this, it's the parole officer within me that used to write and prosecute warrants at the state level. I will not bring an issue up unless I can tell you why I have a credible issue here. And the credible issue here is he is spreading subjectivity as objectivity and asking you to blindly accept that as a fact-based guideline. And it's not. It's not. And just because people share things or link a link, are curious about something, it does not show a flaw in their logic or demeanor. Just because someone has a spiritual journey, a religious preference, it does not show a flaw in their determination of things that you can actually study and learn. So there's something that is off kilter. It's off kilter because if you truly cared about people, then you would not make the determination of these people are Jesus freaks. These people are pathetic. You would care about people. People. Because whatever deity you pray to, it's not going to augment your ability to read a fact, look at a scientific journal, follow the data, research, and regurgitate, the empirical data that we all follow. That's going to be easy to do for anyone because Jesus is not in that component. A deity is not in that component. So, I'm not willing to say, I'm going to be objective and do these things for everyone, but I'm going to do it with a subjective nature. I'm not going to do it because that is incompatible. That is incongruent. That is an impossibility. And so I just want everybody to pick up on that. And I want you to know that you have the ability to police what you want to approve and not approve. You have the ability to say, yes, I want to click on that link. No, I don't want to click on that link. You have every right in your journey to review whatever you want to review. And if someone is going to say, I'm doing this because I care, but then say, but these people that follow this religion are pathetic, or these people that have these beliefs are pathetic, that's incongruent. That's incongruent. Because if you ask me with this scientific data that we're going through, it doesn't matter. Your religious beliefs do not matter because again, that's a personal held opinion, but scientific data is a fact. So I don't get those mixed up. And when I talk about my preferences with my religion stuff, I don't expect you to swallow that as a fact. But again, I believe you're mature enough to determine what you need to take when I tell you things and research on or set aside. I don't make that determination for you. And I don't like to be on a channel where someone is saying he feels that my intellect and my cognition is scrambled because I have a spiritual path I follow, and that he must then pare down the information and pare down the fluff so that I can compost it because I won't make the right decision for myself. I find that very rude and condescending. And it's hard for me to think that someone that would speak that way about 80% of the population truly has an objective thought about, but I need to bring this information for the best interest of humanity. But I'm then going to divide humanity into the people that I think are brainwashed or pathetic, or that is incongruent to me. That doesn't equal. Okay, that those two things don't go together. And so what I would have to say is I don't think he's a bad man. I think that he thinks other people are inherently flawed, but he does not look at his own inherent flaws. And in order to understand how flawed we all are, we have to understand that we also ourselves have flaws. And so we have to have a little bit of grace for other people. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say you should follow my personal opinions and follow, you know, every minute, small phrase that I use. You should then take and use in your daily life because it's better than anything you could possibly think of. No, no, no. The fact that the synergist community works so well is the fact that we are all absorbing data and we're all talking about it and we're all bringing our own inflections so that we can pick and choose and say, oh yeah, that worked for you. Let me try that. Or you look like, you know, we have a lot of similars. I'm going to try that. And we can pick and choose. We don't have a huge policing of this. And we don't have people that say, but this is a remedial group and I need to have more control. You don't, because these people are able to do that on their own. And so I'm not going to go to somebody and say, I'm getting absolutely all the information I need when he just said that these people are brainwashed. And I think the people that have this thought and subjective pathway are pathetic. And there's a lot of pitfalls there. How about we remove our own filters and just say, you know, religion, personal preferences, they're over here. Scientific factual data, it's right here. And let's not mix the two up, because really great, wonderful people can be very polar opposite when it comes to subjective natures and personal opinions and belief systems and ideologies and all that. They can be polar opposites, but they can still come together and talk about data and research and patterns. We can all agree on that because there's evidence. Let's keep it based there when we're talking about and helping each other. Let's not worry about policing each other because it's just not going to work. And you know, I learned a couple of years ago, and it was with the Hope and Savon thing that, you know, I got a real taste of actually how aggressive people are to manipulate. And then I started paying attention to everybody because they sent a huge box to me of stuff. And I normally do unboxings when people send me stuff because it doesn't happen maybe once every 2 or 3 years. And I say that I just got a box yesterday from somebody, which was terribly sweet. But I rarely get these things. So I would always try to show people what was sent, because normally if somebody had an Etsy store or a shop and, you know, hey, let's information highway, let's get more people to view that. And I did an unboxing. And then about 2 months later, when I started really paying attention, I noticed that the people that had sent me this, it was from one continent. They had a business in 2 continents, and they were constantly in flight. And I went, this does not feel right. And so I just set that down and scooted it to the side because it didn't feel right. And sure enough, it came out sometime later that there were issues there. And I just left it alone because I believe that you're smart enough to make that connection as well. And so normally when people send me stuff now, I don't even talk about it because normally it's a manipulation tactic when people send you their own products or something. So I stopped being nice because people will take advantage of that. In the same way that people will take advantage of your religious beliefs and your personal preferences to say that you are impaired, pathetic, brainwashed. And we have to understand that all of that is a filter, and we all have those filters, and we have to set those aside and understand that's my belief. So I think when people are sharing things, he has to go, you know, that's their opinion, that's their belief, and I'm not going to diminish them wholly as an individual just because they hold that belief or they click that link if they have a curiosity about that. I think it's very wrong of him to do that. And I think he needs to understand that some people may look at him and say he doesn't have an upward momentum, he doesn't have any kind of spiritual pathway, any kind of journey. A lot of people would minimize him as an individual for not having that. And so they would say, well, I use the whole Bible thing. I don't want to cast my pearls before swine. Well, I would look at them and say, that's wrong. You're diminishing him as a human for not following your spiritual pathway when the spiritual pathway should be open to everyone. And we shouldn't diminish their capacity, because if they're breathing, they're still on they're on their own. They're on their own spiritual journey. It just doesn't look like yours. So to have somebody react to a larger group of people for just very small differences as brainwashed or pathetic, I find disrespectful. And then to have people from his channel come over here and say, prove it, prove it, prove it. I don't speak about things that I don't have the evidence for. I was trained to write warrants and prosecute warrants. So when I have a beef, I'm going to exactly have in my back pocket what I'm beefing about. Now, I may give y'all 24, 48 hours to make fools of yourselves. Talk about it and be like, don't do it, but that's not necessary. It's not necessary, because I'm trying to bring this up in a kind manner and talk about it. And what I'm saying is, we're all a group of people with differences and flaws and opinions and issues and dysfunction, and that's humanity. And if we start paring down who we think we should be giving information to, or the amount of information, or the amount of control they have over information received, we are going to start getting into a very narrow group of people that are going to have access to certain things. And I think that's wrong, because that's how people get into big power and big mistakes, just like our government. So I don't want to see any of those things that we know as a flawed presentation. Like I'm going to control your social media. I'm going to control the links you see. I think I have to manipulate this because you can't make a good decision. We know that's flawed. We know that doesn't work for the whole of humanity. We know that is a flawed attempt at control. We don't need it. We don't need it in this community. And I would just like to say that maybe that's his flaw. Maybe he identified flaws in other people, but maybe that's his flaw. Maybe he needs to work on that. But I'm not here to babysit you, because we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people. Yes, some of them are manipulators. Some of them are shit stirrers. Some of them are pot lickers. It's just the way they are. But I'm not going to make that determination for you. Mostly because, like I said, you start to control somebody else's life. Are you willing to wipe their butt? Because that's how up close and personal you want to get. I'm not willing to follow people around and wipe your butt. I think you can do that yourself. Therefore, I also have the whole faith in everyone that they can determine which links they need to check on, which products they need to believe in or not believe in. It's going to be a personal preference. And I don't need to police that for you. And if someone determines that it needs to be policed for me, I'm going to go, why? If I'm competent enough to absorb the material that we're speaking of, why then am I also remedial enough to need your parentage? It's incompatible. It's incongruent. Those two things cannot exist at the same time. Does that make better sense? And so yes, I found the words very full of animosity, condescension, and it made me distraught to think that someone would look at a group of people that are consuming such phenomenal data and doing such research and communicating about it, and then would shove 80% of them into a bracket because of an objective or a subjective personal belief. There's no objectivity there. We can't do that to each other, y'all. We cannot start to sub-compartmentalize and sub-categorize and break apart and create, factions, because then the work will not get done. The research will not get complete. The truth will not be shared correctly. We need to set our flawed humanity aside for a moment and go, everyone, regardless of what I think about them, should be able to access this information. Even the people that are trying to scam you, I can't. I'm not the TBI or the FBI. I can't go through and do backgrounds on all these people that claim products or books about certain things that will change your life, and that's not for me. So I'm not even going to attempt it, and I'm not going to tell you that I have any kind of inherent knowledge as to who you need to believe and who I don't. I don't, because manipulators are really great at what they do. Vet everything, research everything. Don't believe anything you see on the internet. Do your own research. Don't believe anyone, not even me. That's why, even if you hear it in the synergy community, read the material. Do your homework. Make your own determinations. Share your personal stories. It helps others. Don't dog someone for a subjective belief. Don't make someone remedial. Don't minimize them, diminish them personally because of an opinion or a subjective belief pattern. Because there are flaws in everyone. And so I'm not going to tell you about your flaws and believe I don't have any. We all help each other. That's why I say I don't like friends that are like exactly like me, because then you don't, you're in a room of echoes. I don't like that. I don't want everyone to sound like me and behave like me. I pick friends that really are, I call them blind spot friends. Things that I don't see well, I need a friend that sees that differently than me and sees it in a different way so that they can then relay that information that I just have a hard time consuming. I want that person to give me their belief pattern and their opinion, and I want to roll that around in my head because I have an issue trying to process that on my own. I want friends that branch out and have different perspectives because I know that I struggle with these topics. So I'm going to pick people. I don't want people just like me that think just like me, that see just like me and have opinions just like me. That's a very, very narrow perspective to have. And in order to get through the information of what is happening to the human body, we need to have every type of thinker out there. We need to have every brain in use. And so if somebody took offense to me having an opinion, that's fine. You can take offense to my opinion, but to say, you need to prove it. I'm not going to speak about something unless I'm telling you why I'm speaking about it and I have it in my back pocket to explain. And so if you didn't watch his entire video, which if you're going to come in here and argue with me, you should at least do your homework. But if you didn't watch his entire video, that was the phrase that I had the biggest issue with. Casting off of 80% of people because of a subjective difference that does not have any bearing on research and information consumption and regurgitation. Nothing. Facts are still facts. Scientific data is still scientific data. It doesn't matter who you believe in. The fact that your organs are being affected by all these different frequencies and everything going on has nothing to do with Jesus. You can have both beliefs and still understand the facts and understand your Bible, understand your facts, and understand your religion. It can happen. And so I just try to not put myself in a pivot point to start narrowing down the pack because we literally need everyone. And I'm not going to condemn somebody because they want to try out a product or they want to look into something else or they get curious about a topic that I think is just nothing. And so I look at them as though, really, you followed that line. Well, it may lead to something that I didn't pick up on. That's why we need all these different brains and all these different people. So to start to diminish the people that are actually helping funnel information, pass information, do the research, make the connections, it's just not. It's not a positive. It's not a positive. Every person on the planet that is breathing at this current moment has a dog in this fight with synergy because everyone that has a body and is breathing is being affected by these things. Doesn't matter what church they go to, what religion or spiritual path they choose. Doesn't matter what links or as seen on TV products they try. None of that matters. So stop focusing on those little filters that are human flaws You know, those little filters that we pack around and think, well, that person's not worth it. She ate lunch at McDonald's. Oh my God. Those are flaws. We pack those around because we want to see flaws in others because it makes us feel better about our own flaws. How about we just all swallow the fact that we all have flaws and we move on? And we just go, you know, I'm not going to pack those today. I'm just going to deal with people and facts and scientific studies and research and medical information, and that's what we need to work with. So that's my big beef. I don't think he's an inherently evil man. I think he had a moment where he showed some true errors in judgment when it comes to putting subjective and objective in the same tray and saying, you know, he's great at both. No, they don't belong together. You know, I can't write a warrant and then go before the judge and go, I just really don't like him. I just think he's just not worth it. You know, some of the stuff he does is, I just think he needs to be in prison. That judge is going to go, what the crap? But did he violate the terms of his supervision? Did he infringe upon a law? I just don't like him. I just don't think he's worth my time. That's not my determination. I can't supersede, you know, the overall. That's not within me. And I don't think it's within him to try to determine who gets what information and how much information you're allowed to view. And so that's why I say, hey, maybe that's not great. Maybe that is his flaw, is he likes a little bit too much control. And maybe what he needs to work on is understanding that some people do have curiosities about products, about these things that are woo-woo weird. Maybe he thinks they're brainwashed stuff. But people have curiosities about that. And guess what? The people that are curious are normally people in 6 to 10 years that find out if something was crazy or if it was not, because they put effort into it and research it. I'm not going to think poorly of you because you research a different way or a different standard, you know, you or different line of curious thing. Yeah, I'm just happy you're out there looking, because we have so many people that don't look anymore. They don't look anymore. They don't look anymore. And I don't care who you pray to. If you're showing me research data, that's not going to be affected by who you pray to. Okay? I don't care. I don't care what link or as seen on TV product you used last night. When you hand me a list of market share showing me medical products that are being used currently that people believe don't exist, because that's a brick and mortar business that is functioning based on this biofield research data we have. That's concrete. I don't care what you, I don't care. I don't care. So we just need to make sure that we understand that sometimes the opinions and things that we hold can trip us up, can create issues, does not have a place in certain fields of study. It's just not necessary. And you can hold all the opinions you want, but if you say you're actually bringing information to the masses, then set aside those beliefs for 5 seconds and actually bring information to the masses. Because if you carry some kind of animosity in your heart toward certain people, certain groups, it's going to trip you up. You're going to start to make mistakes in how you handle things, and people are going to feel that. And I felt it yesterday. And I thought, this is not good. I don't want other people to feel this, so I'm going to talk about it. And people are like, you're talking about something he said he believed. You're horrible to talk about that. But he's not horrible to say that people that believe in a religious belief, they're crazy and brainwashed and pathetic. See, right there, that's one of those human flaws. You get to choose what to be upset about. I do too. But we can all agree that, you know, these subjective belief things, they don't go along with our research-driven data that we push forward to prove the biofields and the medical malpractice and the overreach of our government. Those are all facts that they don't have anything to do with this. And so we don't need to bring those things in. We don't. And so that's why I say when I'm in on live streams where I see people commenting and well, I really found a lot of help in this book. And I'm like, well, I read that book and I didn't really care for it. I'm not going to say anything because I'm a person, I'm an individual, and I have a different thought pattern. I have a different construct built up here. I view things in one specific way. Their brain may have viewed it in a different way. It may have done something personally for them. I'm not the judge of what they deem to have affected them in their heart. That's for them. And I'm going to try to never cross those lines. And I try to be very careful to never try. If I'm trying to bring you data, I'm trying to be very careful not to cross those lines. So if I'm bringing you something that is like factually just provable evidence, I'm going to try not to cross those lines. It's very important for me. So I just want everybody to understand the way that we carry this information to others is going to highly dictate whether more people become curious or they become irritated with what we're trying to do. We need more people curious. So we need to set down the personal opinions and the personally held beliefs, and we just need to say, hey, let's just deal in facts and evidence. And whatever y'all talk about in the comments below, that's yours. You put something beneath your name, okay, you own that. It doesn't reflect on the person doing the live. It doesn't, you don't have to police anybody. You don't have to slap people and call them names, and that's not necessary. We really need to be working toward a cohesive group that functions great and understands the parameters of this is facts, this is empirical data, this is research driven. And then if I want to have a personally, upheld, opinionated, subjective discussion, I can do that over here. But this is the synergy stuff right here. And so it's just important to, understand that, it's very hard for those two things to exist at the same time. They cannot. And so we need to make sure that we don't try to make that occur in our group, because that's how we break apart a really good group of people. We start to break them apart and turn them, sour them against what we're doing. And I don't want to turn anybody against what we're doing, because it's very important what we're doing. A lot of people are going to take time to gravitate toward this topic and to want to lean into it to learn, because it is something that you kind of have to take a leap of faith into to start accepting the data, because it's really hard, where your brain has been controlled and conformed into this little societal framework. It's very hard for people to take that first leap of faith. And I don't want people to take that leap of faith and then come in and hear somebody say, oh, but if you believe in Jesus, you're pathetic. You're brainwashed. Oh, that's going to turn so many people off. And it's just not necessary. And I don't, I don't have all the knowledge in the world, and I certainly don't have, I'm not a deity, so I don't understand what deities are valid and not. I just have to go on what I feel in my heart, and that's going to be different for every heart. So I'm not really going to speak a lot on those things, because I don't have a factual way to share my determination, because I know it's subjective. So I'm not going to touch those things. Not going to touch those things. And if you tell me that you wore a hat that was pink the other day and it made you feel better, I'm going to smile and say, that's nice. And I'm not going to diminish you, because I know that the brain and the heart are strong things, and they can make your body have physiological responses. And even though it wouldn't happen to me, it might very well happen to you. And I'm not going to think any less of you, because we all need something to hang on to right now. And I'm not going to determine if what you grab is worthwhile, because I don't want you to determine if what I grab is worthwhile. Because if I want to determine your flaws and the level of person you are, then I have to open the door and allow that to happen to me. And I just don't think it's a fruitful combination to occur. I just don't think we need to be picking each other apart like that. So that's how I roll. That's where I'm coming from. I still appreciate the man and all the stuff he's done. He has a great category. He has a great catalog of information. I'm going to still send people to him. But I am going to preface that with, he has a harsh format. And he's very anti-religious component. So be aware when you watch his videos, you may not appreciate that. because I know that, I mean, it's like 80% of the world practice some kind of religion, but like 95% of the people, if you go through all these studies and stuff, have some kind of upward momentum belief. So I'm not going to sit here and try to piss off 95% of the world. I mean, I'm going to play the ratio game on that. That's just not wise. But I am going to say, be aware. I have found this, to be a filter there that I'm not compatible with, and I don't know if you're going to be, but be aware, because I don't want them turned off by that filter. And I'm just going to try not to do it myself. Just going to try not to do it myself. And if that makes you really mad, bless you for having so much time to turn toward my problem. That's the nicest way I can say that. I don't have all that time. And the only reason I chose to speak about this is because this is a very important group of people doing very important work. And I don't want to see people turned away from or leave this group, because we need every brain, every body, every personal experience to help branch out and talk to other people, to bring them in so they can see the facts we have gotten together, so they can read the data, so they can see the medical market share that they swear doesn't exist and is not real. We need people to understand these things. I don't think it's smart to cull when our group is so small already. I just don't think we're at a place where we can cull and determine who is worthy and who is not. And I'm just not one of those people to do that anyway. I'm just, and for me personally, my opinion is that the good Lord made us all, and we all have infinite greatness within us if we access it and use it the right way. And so I'm not going to diminish another because they haven't found something that I found, or they don't believe the way I believe, or they haven't, I'm just going to look at them and say, okay, well, maybe you've not unlocked that great internal component yet. And I'm just going to keep praying quietly in my mind that you do, because I truly hope everyone lives up to and finds the specialness that was created for each and every person. Do you know at the time of conception, there's like over 400,000 options of what you can become? And miraculously, you boop, appeared. I happen to think there's more to that. I do. I happen to think there's more to that than just bada bing, bada boom, chances. That's my perception. And I try to set that aside a lot when I'm having these conversations. But I've also found that perception in some capacity is shared by about 90% of the earth. And so I try not to diminish anyone on those little changes, those little subjective opinions between me and someone else, because when it comes to research and data and factual, it doesn't matter. And so I choose not to talk about that unless I want to have a sidebar conversation with someone that, and then that's just something that doesn't need to be a big deal. I just, but I really don't want to lose people, turn people away, or have the water muddied by opinions when opinions are not the main issue here. The scientific research, the data, the facts, the college textbooks, the things in print, the practices in medicine, the technology they implement, those are all things that there's no opinion there. It exists. We need to talk about it. We need to say, why have we not been told about this? Why are we being lied to? And why are you not telling me about a part of my wholeness? Why am I being deceived there? If you can access it and use it, then it's mine. It's my property. Why are you accessing it without my permission? And that's something that we can all agree on is occurring because they're using it, and we all need to figure out why. We all need to step up and say, excuse me. And we need to understand that this needs to be shared. People need to know about this. And I just don't know how Jesus ended up in that. Jesus or what, Buddha, or I don't know how these people, I don't know how they end up in it. I mean, I don't go and say I need a background of this man to put in a report for the courts because that's going to show a criminogenic. It's going to be factual evidence of a criminogenic nature. And so I go pull 63 previous counts and I write them. I type them all in the little report. How they were adjudicated, what occurred, how he was punished, and I put it in a bow and I give it to the court and I say, here is the factual evidence of the times that he has violated the law and showed criminogenic behaviors that have been punishable. You may make your determination. That's how it's done. I can't go to the judge and go, I pulled that on a computer screen, saw like 4 scrolls, and I thought, man, he's just not a good person. You just need to send him down the road. Do you see the 2 different presentations? Do you see that? So when we're talking, we need to bring forth our best effort, try to cast the widest net, try to reach the most people, try to stay with the facts and evidence, and really put solid stuff out there where they have a foundation to then come in and start to research themselves. Because if we just throw out opinions, they're just going to see people that are just doing this. And and I have this little filter within me that says if somebody says they're doing something for the good of humanity, but then makes a statement that says 80% of people that believe in a spiritual component are brainwashed, I wonder then if they really understand that humanity means everyone. Not just the people that you agree with or believe the way you believe or see things the way, everyone. And so I try not to reduce the people that stop by my channel that way. And I don't pick my friends that way. I like people that, like I say, they see my blind spots. I have things I don't see. I like people that fill those in. And so I like a very eclectic group of people. I like to have a lot of different, a lot of people chewing on facts and looking at this research because brains click differently. And I appreciate that. I appreciate curious natures. And so I'm just, I just don't want to diminish anyone and I don't want to be diminished. And I don't think it's a good face to put out there for this awakening, this movement, because people need to know about this. This for me, at the core of everything, it is a body violation health issue. And it probably means something else to you. But to me, that's what I hold dear. And I think everyone should know about this. And so I'm not willing to, but you need extra help. And you need to be in this group where they pare down the information. I'm just like, no. We just put it out there. Try to hold as, steady as you can to the facts and the evidence. And, let's not let our humanity that is flawed by nature trip this one up, because it's more important than our opinions. It's more important. So, I've had really honestly just a couple of people really negative, and I think it was they were just more mad that I would go, why did that? Why? Because maybe they don't have, maybe they're not people that feel that they can question people, but people that anybody can turn on their phone and create a channel, absolutely anyone. So don't hold anyone that's on one of these little square boxes, don't hold them in high regard. They're just a normal person. Get to know them, spend time with them, fill them out for a few months. That's one thing that I've done. I sit quiet for a long time now. I've learned my lesson in life a long time ago. You sit quiet, shut up, and fill people out. I want to see actions. I want to see behaviors. I want to see motivation. What pushes you, what drives you, and are we compatible? Because if we're not, then I'm not going to go and stick my finger in your side of things and say, because I don't think we're compatible people, you're wrong. I'm going to say, okay, well, they work on this, I'll work on that. We have some things we don't necessarily agree on, but this whole stuff down here we do agree on. So I'm going to hang out over here, just not interact on the things we don't agree. I'm going to wait for the good stuff down here because I know it's going to be worth it. And I just hope everybody can do that and just kind of go, well, that was me. That was my filter. Push it back down and go. Filters don't have, filters don't go with facts. Facts stand alone. So it's just a kinder way to be, especially when something is so important. Just don't throw a hiccup in it, y'all. We don't need hiccups. And if you're going to assign yourself a leadership role, which it looks like he has, and you're going to try to be like a master face behind a movement, and you're going to try to be in this kind of, come to me, for this intelligence. My dog is snoring so loud. Luna, move your head. You're snoring. I don't know how a Boston Terrier snores that loud. But if you're going to assign yourself this level of importance, understand that you're going to become a face of a movement, and that movement needs to touch everyone, because everyone has a biofield, everyone has a body that's being manipulated, everyone has some medical malpractice going on because of this, and it's better to try to create a welcoming atmosphere where everyone can get the information, rather than to start restrict it because of personal beliefs and opinions. Luna. Well, yesterday was not a good day for her, and I wonder if we're not edging up on another seizure. And she's not had two this close together in a while, so I really hope we're not. But I'm beginning to worry about her because she's been not resting well, and the snoring has been atrocious, and I worry about my little epileptic dog. Bless her heart. Yeah, there is the base relevance to everyone. That's it. The base of this information is relevant to every person on the planet that's breathing. And so I'm not going to diminish your capacity or your ability to find this information based on a subjective belief and opinion that I hold. And I hope that I get that kindness in return. And don't try to make hostile places. Even when I was upset yesterday, I tried to handle myself in a way that we could communicate, have a dialogue, and understand how other people may feel when they hear those things being said, because it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant, you know. It's not pleasant. I really felt like I'd been sent to the principal's office yesterday and I'd done something wrong. And I don't want to create that in somebody else, because it's not nice. I don't want to feel like that. I don't want other people to feel like that, especially for an absolute non-reason. If I'm going to make you feel bad, there's going to be a reason. Like there was like threat of bodily harm, or there's going to be a reason. If I'm going to step in your bubble and make you feel bad, there's going to be a reason. That has to be dealt with. And I'm not going to walk through life and create issues because I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary, and I'm not going to determine your worth based on beliefs and opinions that we're all allowed to make. If we start doing that, and if somebody says, "I like grape bubblegum," my God, that's nasty. Out. We'll get there eventually. If we start to prove these things, we'll get there eventually. You know how man works. So I just want to say hello from the back of the room. That's not necessary. It's not nice that it really estranges us from being highly consumed by the masses. And we need to be highly consumed by the masses because everyone needs to have this information. Let's not limit it. Let's not reduce it. Let's not restrict it. And let's not make it, where you have to take a little bit of abuse before you get it. That's just, I've never met anyone that truly enjoyed, "Yes, sir, may I have another?" It's not necessary. It's not necessary. So just, if you do things out of the kindness of your heart, do it. Do it. That's great. But make sure your motivation is pure. And when you say, "I'm doing it out of the kindness of your heart," make sure you truly are. Because you will slip up and say things, and people will call you on it. But here's the thing. If you're going to do things like that and try to be the momentum behind a movement, then hold yourself up here. Stop holding other people. Hold yourself to this high level of accountability. Screw other people. They're not trying to get on a pedestal and saying, "Come to me for this knowledge." Don't worry about them. If you are trying to do that and really become this beacon, then you really have to be as easily digested by the masses as possible. So we have to set aside a lot of those personal filters we have and just say, hey, this is where we can meet and this is where I'm going to hold myself. And when I start to feel my little biases creep in, I'm going to go, no, I need to reach everyone and be hyper aware. Don't be hyper aware of other people's issues. Be hyper aware of your own, because the only person you can control is yourself. And if you're putting yourself in a position of power, it amp it up times 100. Amp it up times 100. So we've got to be super aware of how we represent and appeal to others at this time, because this in itself is a woo woo issue to most people, and we have to acknowledge that. And so we certainly don't want to start. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm sure most people could probably say, well, which one's crazier? These people believe in this, these people believe in that. And I'm sure we're probably in some people's topic of crazy. That's subjective. And so I'm certainly not going to turn around and then do the same to others. I'm just going to say, hey, we're all different. Let's keep it on the facts and the data. Let's stop trying to diminish people's capacity based on personally held beliefs. And if we truly are worried about people, let's be worried about people, and let's not call them names or determine their worth based on our own biases. Let's just recognize the bias and then move forward. And that's what we need to be doing. This is a movement. This is much bigger than each individual. It's a community, and no community is going to uphold to an individual standard across the board. We're not going to be replicas of each other, and we're not going to be completely 100% compatible. We're all going to find something about somebody we don't like. Set it aside. It's more important than that. Way more important than that. If it's not, you're here for the wrong reason. You really are. Because 99% of what you're going to be dealing with is factual evidence and medical technology that you are going to have to plead with other people to read the paperwork on, because they are so biased, they will not. And so I'm sitting here going, I understand a bias. That's why we're all sitting here just now finding out about all of this that's been going on. They have created guidelines that we don't like to cross because we have these very opinionated, inflated egos and perceptions. And the last thing I want to do is use that then to hinder us in another way, because I'm just trying to appeal to as many people as possible so that they're aware of what is going on and why potentially they're having some health issues, why potentially they're seeing these problems, why maybe a health condition is being exacerbated, or maybe why our elders are having such memory issues, in recent years as opposed to later years. There's a lot that we can do to help so many groups of people, and Jesus doesn't come into that for me. Like, Jesus is always back here in my brain, but when I'm dealing with people with the synergy information, I don't go, give me the password and I'll tell you the truth. The password's not Jesus. It's just, I really want to tell this to you. You're a human. You deserve to have this knowledge and this evidence about what's going on in the world and what your body is being inundated with and what has occurred medically that no one really truly understands. And we need to be digging up more of the data to understand exactly how long this is going on, exactly how far it has reached, and exactly how we can turn around and start to deal with it, because that's where we are. We're at this hinge point in the movement where action has got to be planned out. We've got to, now that we're starting to have the data, we need to turn around and say, how do we apply this and turn it into an application based life movement so that people start to see a change. And almost every aspect of that is a leap of faith when you look at the way we have been raised ignorant by our government and restricted access. And I'm not willing to do that to other people. And I hope people don't want to do it to me. And I will when I feel a very important thing is being kind of sent off the rails, I will raise my hand and go, "Excuse me, this was stated, and this is subjective, but we're dealing in objective issues. Why are we throwing them together? It's not necessary. It's harmful. Can we stop? Thank you." Because I don't want to lose a single person, because that means they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand, you know, what is occurring internally within them. And we may be the only way they figure that out. So let's not limit people. Let's not reduce people. Let's not bring our filters in this. Let's not say that you can only have the information if you pray my way, or if you're agnostic or atheist, or let's not. It's not. Boxes and stickers and categories are just not necessary here. Facts, evidence. Let's not minimize people. Let's not diminish people. I'm not going to control the links you see. I don't think I need to. I'm not going to tell you you're stupid because you have a curious nature and click on a link I might not click on. I'm not going to diminish you personally. Please don't do it to me. And that's where I'm at on this. And if you're going to place yourself in a, self-designated place of authority, use your authority wisely. Because the momentum here is for everyone to get the information, not to believe in the way that we believe. And I just, sometimes, even though we are very hard on ourselves, or we get, we very passionate about something, we kind of forget to have that kind of step back and look at us from an external position. And so we might elicit some behaviors that are not quite helpful to the cause. And if someone were to bring that to my attention, I'd be like, oh crap. Oh shoot. Well, I hope I did not impede someone's journey to learn this wonderful information. And I'm going to take a back step. And that's why I said yesterday, if you watch that and you're like, I don't want to be called that, and I don't want to think that about me, so I'm just not going to talk. I'm not going to post. I'm not going to look into this. It's going to turn so many people off. Let's just kind of remove yourself and go, would I like that if it was said to me? What if the roles were reversed? And I have this thing, like, I try to look at things like from like 4 different perspectives. If I'm really struggling, I try to look at it from 4 different perspectives, because I want to be able to argue with each of those perspectives and win that argument. And if I can't, then my determination is faulty. And so I'm really hard on myself. But I have to say that I understand greatly that almost everyone that is breathing has some kind of upward momentum resonance in a spiritual type pathway. And therefore, I normally don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's not helpful. I do not want to say, please come get this information. Please come, and then be caught saying, you're brainwashed if you believe in Jesus. I don't think it's helpful. I think it is going to cause the momentum harm. It is not necessary. You don't need to police links. You don't need to call people stupid or brainwashed. If they click on a link, you wouldn't have clicked on it. If they try a product, you wouldn't have tried. My God, like when I was in high school, and we're talking about people whose brains are almost all formed. When I was in high school, if you ate off-brand Cheerios, you were deemed slum of the earth in my high school. Well, they're made at the same factory. They have the same ingredients. They just got put in a different package. Facts. But somebody just held an internal belief that was completely subjective, that if it didn't say Cheerios, you were crap. And everyone adopted that. Why? Because it's easy. And the only thing more intoxicating than fear is outrage. People jump on it. Kindness, compassion, those are hard to express at all times, because we're really not made that way. Self-preservation, it doesn't really always, gravitate toward kindness. We'll just say that. So when we are trying to reach the masses, you kind of have to stifle some of those humanistic approaches to things and go, wait, I really need everyone to hear this. Therefore, I'm going to stifle my own predilections, and we're going to be very careful. So that's all I'm saying. I hope I have clarified. I'm not trying to be a butthole. I'm trying to say not healthy, not necessary, not needed. And what the crap? It didn't help me feel good. I don't want other people to feel like that. Let's maybe look at that. And listen, don't say private, 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 because I will clip something and put it up to stay up for however long. Now, I don't like to do that. I would like for you to watch the entire video, and then when I reference it, know what I'm referring to. But for those that are not that, I don't know, can't sit still that long. I don't know. I clipped it. It's there now. You can go to my shorts and see exactly what I'm fussing about. I just don't think that's necessary, and I think it is harmful to bringing everyone this wonderful information. And I think if we're going to be in a community that says we're trying to really reach everyone because everyone has a biofield, everyone's being affected, everyone should know this, then we really have to lay aside our little quirks and go, let's not ostracize or make anyone feel estranged, because this really is just a people problem, and it needs to remain that for me as well when I'm speaking about it. Now, if you find somebody that mixes in Jesus in there, I can remove that. If somebody's talking about a religion that I don't follow and they're blending, I can remove that. It's very easy. I have this thing up here that helps me do that. And I don't feel bad about them for having that belief. That's their belief, but it's not mine. So I can kind of take what I need to know and what I want to take from that. And I can take that, but I can leave whatever I don't need. It's a skill that most humans have. And so I don't think we need to have like a remedial babysitters club in this movement. And I don't think we need to address people in that capacity. And if you're breathing, you have a biofield. You've been medically manipulated. You need to read this information. You need to study this information. You need to look into these things and be curious because it's affecting you. End of story. All day long. End of story. Every human being is going to have an individualistic approach with individualistic quirks and eccentricities. I can talk. That's okay. I'm going to overlook yours because I know how I have mine, right? So I'm not going to talk about those things, and I'm not going to diminish you for them because I don't want to be diminished. And we need to move forward like that. And I just felt that yesterday that was a bit harsh. That was a bit harsh to categorize and determine a worth based on something completely just a personal opinion or a personally held belief. It's not necessary. Sabrina has a personally held belief system. I don't agree with her 110%, but I still love 95% of everything that she teaches me because I don't look at the world that way. I still need her input in certain things. I'm going to go to her. I don't 100% agree with anyone, but I still need certain input because I don't absorb things and regurgitate them. I don't process the way everyone else does. It's so useful for me to be able to access your brain and oh yes, that didn't go that way in my head. Bless your heart. Thank you so much. Next, I'm going to use you to my benefit, and I hope you use me to your benefit. And I hope that's where we end it. I hope that's all we are to each other. And I'm going to be able to edit what I need to swallow and consume, and I hope you can edit what you need to swallow and consume. And I'm not going to diminish you for opinions because I don't want to be diminished for opinions. And if I feel that the synergist movement is being harmed in any way, I'm going to feel that I need to speak up because we literally are just a human problem. It's just a human problem, and everyone breathing should know this. And I'm not going to say, well, I don't really want to talk to you about this, and I don't want you in my group because I just think you're crazy. Are you breathing? Oh, yeah, but then you need this information. It's going to affect you. I mean, it's that easy. It's that easy. It's that easy. It's that easy. As for this YouTube streets, I call it the brother and sister wars because it's kind of like, people go through their page and they'll come back to my page and it's kind of like in the backseat. I'm not touching you. I don't do that. I don't do that. In my mind, when I have a beef, I write a warrant because that's the way I was trained. I write a warrant. This is the problem. These are the supporting factual data that I have. This is what I'm going to argue based on. And what I'm arguing today is that we're bringing in subjectivity, inclined perspectives into an objective topic that is not compatible. It is going to ostracize people based on the fact that using this subjective tone ostracized me. That's my argument. I think by now I've proven that. I'm sorry if you can't see that. I wish everyone could, because I really feel it's a skill to try to understand other people and try to think about how they're going to absorb the energy we put out. It's very important to try to understand that. And I try to offer everyone that kindness. And I would also like for other people to offer that to others, especially in such an important group as this. And so I argued my point. I hope it doesn't happen again. I hope he can reflect and maybe say, yeah, that was a bit harsh. That is cutting a whole lot of people out of a group that need to be in that group. Where they sit their butts on Sunday morning or who they pray to every day, it doesn't matter when we're talking about facts and evidence. And maybe I don't need to put a restriction in my brain. Maybe I need to talk to myself about that bridge that I have burnt and understand that those people are still compatible and necessary and great researchers and have wonderful points. And so have a talk with yourself. No, I don't think he's a horrible person. I think he had an error in judgment and said some things that probably, had he taken 5 minutes to reflect on, he probably wouldn't have said. Being that he wants to be in this leadership role, and more power to him if he wants to be. I don't want to be. I don't want to be. But if you are going to self-assign an importance level, then you need to also self-assign some restrictions on bringing your own biases to work, because it don't need to happen. Don't need to happen. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and if you're here and you don't know what I'm talking about, you're fine. You're probably doing better than most of us. Take that as giant positive in your world today and skip off and have a wonderful day. And if you do understand this, then let's just all try better for each other, because I don't want to see people shy away from this topic, because legit we need every person possible to start to understand and make a change in this world so that we don't see these things occurring in the next few generations. It needs to be corrected. If you had my health and had the issues that I deal with daily, you'd be like, oh yeah, it needs to be corrected. I really want it corrected. So that's why it's so important to me. But I'm still just not, I'm not going to attack someone personally because of a belief, not even over my health and how bad I feel most days. It's just I'm just not that person. Although if you follow me to my bubble and you get up in my face, it will not end well. But I'm just honestly, in the day to day, I'm just not that person. But I don't. It's not that I don't like conflict. I find it useless most times, because I can express myself without being combative. I've also found out that some people can't do that. And so sometimes I have to speak up, and I have to role model how to express yourself without being combative. And so here I am. And next time that you find yourself trying to stand up for yourself or bring awareness to something, try to do it in a kind manner. Try to say, hey, I have this issue, understand that, we're all flawed. It's part of us. So, but I really have tried to handle this nicely, minus the people that have messaged me and been like, you big fat, prove it, you big, that's just not necessary. The girth of my hind end does not, it's not going to remove or change the words he said. Again, not compatible, incongruent. I just had this picture in my head that when I go around horrible people behind him, I go beep, beep, beep. You know, that would be a nice, I would take that. I would let my butt be big and beep when I go around bad people if I had like this precognition to know that these people were not good. Hey, I'd take that hit for the team. That was a mental image that just cracked me up. I'm sorry. So, anyway, I tried to be nice. And I really have tried to role model the appropriate way to handle these things because sometimes all we can be is just maybe a glimpse of what should be. And I hope I've handled this appropriately as much as I can. So, nasty emails can stop now. Although, grammar is a great, like eye to the soul. You can, the words that people use, the way that they spell the words, iambic pentameter and writing patterns really do show a lot of psychological sways. And it has been a great form of, you know, chasing away the blah afternoons here in a rainy state. So, do appreciate the little bit of curious, if not unwelcome, thought pattern that you provoked. But it can stop now. Unless your whole reason for getting up in the morning is to yell at me. And that if I'm that important, continue. Who am I to stop you? So, but, for the rest of the day, I'm going to crochet and put on, you can actually do like audio scientific peer reviewed journals. If you have like an alumni status at colleges and stuff, you can find those. So that might be something that y'all can look into if you have an alumni status. Go through, and I've gone through my multiple colleges to find those libraries, and you can get audio journals. And so if you really want to read something, but you still find that you want to do something with your hands like I do, then you can find those if you look really hard. So that's today's hint of things that I find useful so that I can crochet. So if you didn't know that, now you do. If you don't crochet, don't worry about it. I just thought it was neat. So now I can research while I make possums, which is a win-win for me. Sometimes it's the simple things. And I have decided to make a whole possum with a black band above the feet to link into the black ears because I think it might give it some, I don't know, it might give it something extra. So that's what I'm going to try to do with this possum. Also, to the lady that wanted a skunk, a kind snuggler skunk with, so I made him smile. He's sleeping. He's got sleeping eyes. They'll loosen up a little bit, not look like V's here in a few days. Look at that. And I made it hinge so you can pick it up because I am going to give him a little X butthole. I am. It's just, I have to. It's a compulsion at this point. So he is a pretty big snuggler too. I augmented the one pattern because she said, I really want a skunk. Can you do that? And I was like, I can augment. I can reshape the ears. I can redo the face and shorten the body for the, to reflect a skunk more. And so I made this guy. And then I gave him a tail that can hinge and lay up because I am going to give him a little butthole. But skunks raise their tail to spray. So I thought his tail needed to be able to come up easily. So I gave him a hinge tail. And he's very soft and he's very cuddly. And I hope she likes him. He's very sweet. I need to lint roll the heck out of him. Everything's sticking to you. But I really think he's sweet. So I've been working on him for the last couple of days. I just think he's cute. And I did embroidery everywhere. I gave him an embroidered face. I think it's for her, but just in case she has, kids around, or I don't want safety eyes scare me when it comes to children. So I gave him sleepy eyes, which will loosen up in a couple of days and not look like V's. They'll just be downward cast eyes. And then I love his nose. His nose turned out so well. Then she said, I want him to have a smile. So I give him a smile. And I rounded his ears instead of pointy ears. So, because skunks have little roundy ears. I just think he's cute. I'm thinking about giving him a little few white bangs up here out of this fuzzy yarn that I put around his spots. Not the yellow. The white fuzzy yarn that I put around I lined his white strip in. So I'm thinking about giving him just a few little bangs. I think his name needs to be Spritz because skunk spray. So his name's Spritz because he doesn't spray, he spritzes. His name's Spritz. Look, and I love the underside of his tail too. It's just as pretty. Anyway, crochet soothes the savage beast. I need to finish winding in my ends because by golly, I've got a lot of them. So that's going to be my next project over the next few minutes. So do something that calms your nerves. Crochet is it for me. So have a wonderful day. Be kind to people. Sometimes you have to talk about things you wouldn't really want to talk about. And, you can do it in kind ways and you can do it without being a combustible engine. But the worst thing you can do to somebody is say, prove it, because somebody that really does have a valid concern will then post what they're issued about. So I'm leaving it up. I had so many people email me and say, he wouldn't say that, prove it. God gave you 2 ears. Listen well. Boggled my mind that people haven't listened better than they listen. And sometimes it's hard because when we agree with somebody or we have a lot of the same, filters as them, it's really hard for us to understand how somebody that doesn't have those assigned beliefs will feel in that scenario. And so sometimes we just need an external person to go, well, that was not nice. And you don't have to be mad about it. You just have to go, oh crap, that wasn't, was it? Okay, we need to correct this for next time because we don't want to make anybody else feel like that. I've been there and I've done that 50,000 times. It's just part of life. Self-correction is part of life. So that's all I'm doing. And Lord have mercy. You would have thought that it was a shot heard around the world. Things just don't get to me that much. They get to y'all, I don't know. But the emails and messages I've had, maybe I'm just a different type person. I'm just kind of like, oh well. 3 years ago I was on the internet, and for like 6 months people said I was a backdoor Freemason, which cracked me up because only men are in the women's are Eastern Star. Y'all know that, right? So off the bat they had it wrong. But then I just sat there, and Sabrina was like, "Are you not going to talk about, And I'm like, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to see where they go with this. I want to know what they concoct." And, and I know that sometimes she gets hurt with what people say about her. I find it terribly amusing because I want to know what you come up with. Because, if you're stretching something, I'll let you go for about 5 miles before I rein you in. Because I'm amused. And I know that's one of my predilections that's not nice. I understand that completely. So, and most people understand that about me. It comes with the nature of me being trained in law enforcement. I'm not always nice. I will build a case and sit on it and collect data. And but I've had a lot of people, they watched me a few years ago. Oh, I dropped my needle. And they said because I had checker curtains, I was a Freemason. And I was like, wouldn't I be an Eastern Star? Because I'm a female. But I didn't. I just sat back. And I let it go on and go on. I even did a tongue-in-cheek advertisement for cult leader curtains. You can special order cult leader curtains. Did you not know that? And I ran with it. I had fun with it because it was so bizarre that I found it humorous. And it didn't hurt my feelings. It really was just kind of like, this is funny. I'm going to highlight it, shine a light on it, and maybe, the next time somebody comes off him with something so off the wall, they'll be like, wait, last time that didn't work out well. I shouldn't do that again. But I'm just one of those people. And it doesn't really bother me, but it is because I do walk a pretty straight and narrow path with other people. And I'm very careful. But when somebody takes a wild tangent off on me, I just sit back. And if I had popcorn and Diet Coke, I'd be set for life because it doesn't really bother me because I'm like, wow, and the imagination is phenomenal. And I just really appreciate the artistry and all of it. Is that sad? I know that probably sounds horrible, but that's just how I am. I dropped my needle. And it had to go 10 foot away from me in the room. Because, nothing can be easy right now. So, and that's just one of the little quirks I have. So there now, y'all know I would have to have some kind of weird offshoot to deal with. I supervise murderers. I had to deal with some. So, I've got some quirks about me too, and I'm highly aware of them because I had to cut them out to go to court or to go to parole hearings. So, you know, but I don't want people to feel bad. And like yesterday was the first time I'd had really an emotional response to anything. And I thought, I'm not one to really be upset with these things. So if I felt this way, I bet you a lot of people felt this way. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And because I chose to talk about it, I don't know, I guess I was the target for hate for the day. And that's fine, whatever keeps you going, but, I'm not scared of conflict. Conflict is sometimes necessary, and I don't have a problem with that. Don't have a problem pulling up a chair and prosecuting what I feel is a violation. I'm fine with that. But the whole neener, like, prove it. You big fat blah, 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 prove it. And I'm like, is a 5-year-old in the synergy group? What the crap? But we really probably need to handle ourselves a little bit better and understand that the way we deal with each other is the way, people are going to assign a nature to this group. And so if I think we need to have an important talk, I'm going to treat it with some reverence, and we're going to have an important talk. And I'm not going to blast people for what I know is, personally held convictions and beliefs and ideologies, because those are inherent within everyone, and I'm going to separate those things and move forward. And I hope y'all can do the same. Now I'm just talking, chewing the fat, trying to get the lint. Chenille yarn. Something that aggravates me more than I find humanly plausible and possible at the same time is chenille yarn. Okay? There, I got it now. My ends are woven in. Isn't it cute? I'm thinking about giving them bangs, though. That'd be my last thing. I like to make people happy. I like to hand make gifts and things for people. I like to find the way that we as humans are alike and compatible more so than different and incompatible. And I find it extremely helpful when dealing with a topic that most of society classifies. They classify this more as a conviction than an actual factual thing. And so I find it helpful in this regard. And maybe if I talk to y'all about it, that will be something that y'all can talk about and maybe start to employ yourself, and see if you see a change with how people respond to you in relation to this topic, because it is a weird topic to talk about. And it's hard for some people to take that leap and say, sure, I'll read up on it, because we're asking people to go against the very nature they've been programmed with. And I recognize that. So, yeah, let's just kind of welcome everybody and not pick on people for being different, and not cast off, 80% of our base because they might have a religion we may not understand. It's just not necessary. It's not necessary. There's lots of people in the world that I don't get. But gosh, it would be such a boring place. If everybody were like me, it would be so freaking boring. And I'm really a renownedly boring person, so it would be very boring. So we need the spice in life. So far be it from me to try to make y'all canned replicas of me. It ain't happening. One of me is enough. Believe me, one of me is enough. I can barely tolerate my own self some days. Oh my gosh, I gave him bangs. Okay, he needs a haircut, but I gave him bangs. Let me cut your bangs. You've got a couple of really long ones here. And people are going, she's looking at a crocheted skunk with the same intensity she makes a dream catcher. Yes. Yes, I'm a weirdo. If I'm crafting, I'm like wholeheartedly in on the gig, you know? Always so cute. Okay. I think he's done now. Okay, I'm going to pre-love my little skunk before I send him off to his friend and lint roll the crap out of him. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. I hope y'all read something that makes you go, wow, and you share it with 100 people. I love those days when I get stuff from my friends and I'm like, whoa. I love those days. So let's make it a wonderful day. Let's end the day on a high note. Let's tell 5 people that we appreciate something about them. I appreciate that y'all sat here and listened to me because bless y'all's heart, not everybody can. I appreciate that you have the curiosity and the want and desire to spend time with me because I don't always understand why y'all do. I appreciate y'all immensely. It's a wonderful way for me to still have a communal vibe, even though my health greatly limits my ability to leave my goddamn house. I am going to be on the farm this week. I've been shuffled a lot the last few weeks because of deer season, family visiting, and holidays coming up. But I am going to be down there for a little while. And then we have, of course, everybody has probably some kind of family function coming up this weekend. And if you find yourself alone during Thanksgiving and you need, some kind of solace or someone to talk to, or you're just, not in a good headspace, feel free to email me. Everybody sometimes either needs a card in the mail, a letter, or just a simple email response to say, hey, sometimes days suck. And sometimes we just need to talk to somebody else that's going to let our day suck and we can just tell them how sucky the day was. And, it's kind of cathartic to let it out. If you don't have that person, email me. I'll be that person. Email is watersworkload@gmail.com. And, but for the hateful emails, I don't know. I kind of enjoy them. It's such a window into the soul. But after about a couple dozen, it gets old. But then I go into pattern recognition and I start, anyway, I'd make a whole thesis, but I just, I'm retired. Let's enjoy retirement. Let's just crochet and be a nice person. Find a friend, role model good behavior. And I hope that y'all do the same. But make sure you smile before the day ends. Make sure you tell somebody you love them and try to find somebody to tell that to you. Okay? And if you need a skunk, just let me know. Apparently now I can make those. Give me yarn and I'll just open up the universe. Y'all have a wonderful day. Appreciations. Have a wonderful day. Say bye, Spritz. Bye, Spritz. Oh, Lord.